The music's on, the disco ball has dropped, and it's time to get this party started. You're listening to episode 36 of Disco Trek, a Star Trek Discovery After Party podcast here on the Tricorder Transmissions Network. I'm your host, Heather Barker, and with me at the turntable, as always, my favorite co-host, Jeff Hewlett. Hi, Jeff. How are you doing?
Hello, Heather. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for holding down the fort last week. I had to step away due to a death in the family, so I was happy that everyone was able to still get together and talk about disco. For those who aren't familiar with our podcast, we're a community-based Star Trek podcast featuring on each episode of Discovery as they air. Tonight we'll be discussing episode 8, Project Daedalus. With us to talk about the episode is a new friend of the show, Melody Copsey. Melody, welcome, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, hi there. Thank you. Happy to be here. I live in Illinois, East Central. Member of a Star Trek group we have out here out of Lerna, Illinois.
Nice.
Very active. I'm Ensign, head of science department.
Cool.
We get together and have activities, and I'm 63 years young and still enjoying it all.
That's fantastic. Do you have an online presence for that group that people can check you guys out?
Oh, definitely. It's usslittlefox.com.
Nice.
And we also have Facebook page. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
We'll try to, maybe we can link the group in our show notes or something. We'll make sure that we get that. I know that we have in our unofficial Star Trek Las Vegas convention group, we have a post stuck in our announcements that has like all different like away teams and fan clubs and stuff like that where people can get together. So we love putting fans in touch with each other, especially in person. Alrighty, we're going to hop into our discussion of the episode in just a minute, but first we have some housekeeping to do. We have changed the way that Disco Trek works. We found that a lot of people on Twitter and other social medias wanted to be on the podcast who weren't in the group, and so we just said, let's just open it up to everyone. So what we're doing now, please follow us on Twitter. It is at disco_trek. You can still become a member of the unofficial Star Trek Las Vegas convention on Facebook too. Either way, keep an eye out and we will post a contact form. We'll have a little announcement with contact form link, and so to enter to be on the show, you will now fill out the contact form. We get an email. We will still do the drawing typically on a Saturday, and we will notify you via email, and we will ask you to confirm your attendance, and that's what we'll be doing going forward. We're super excited, so just follow us at disco_trek, or you can join the unofficial STLV group on Facebook. Either way.
Oh, and there's another way, by the way. If you go to the tricordertransmissions.com and click on Disco Trek, there's a link on the Disco Trek page to that form as well. So you can get in that way too.
Perfect. Lots of ways to join in the discussion. You can still go to the same tricordertransmissions.com and leave a voicemail via SpeakPipe. There's a little tab on the page, so if you have any insight that you would like to have appear as a recording on the show, feel free to do that as well. We have some new patrons that we are excited to tell you about. Jeff, do you want to tell everyone about our new patrons?
Yes, I do. And before I do that, I just want to point out, yes, we do have a Patreon page, and you can find it at patreon.com/thetricordertransmissions, or you can visit our website, thetricordertransmissions.com, and click on the big orange Patreon link in the upper right-hand corner. So if you enjoy what we do here on Disco Trek or any of our other Tricorder Transmission shows, please think about joining our Patreon family. So becoming a patron will give you instant access to our unedited episodes right after we record them or soon thereafter, many times with bonus material before and after the shows that normal listeners don't get access to. And, we also have new tiers, and we rolled them out a few weeks ago. And if you've listened to Disco Trek before, you've heard about them already. But I'm going to run down the list of tiers one more time for everybody out there. So entry level is transparent aluminum, and we go up to Trillium D, Latinum, Dilithium, Omega Molecule, and Harmonized Omega Molecule. Each of those tiers has their own benefits that cascade upwards. So whatever level you join at, you will get exclusive benefits that are targeted at your level. So feel free to go to our Patreon page, peruse the levels, see the rewards, and get an idea of what we're going to offer to all of those levels. And we hope you will join our Patreon family as these people this week did. So it's been a big week for Patreon. We have 3 new patrons. I'm going to give a shout out to all of them. So Jessica Schaffalo, Mark Amorosi, and Mike Nguyen. Thank you guys for becoming new patrons of our network. We really, really appreciate it. And on top of that, we have 2 patrons who upped their pledge level to get to a different level, a higher level. So Greg Rozier and Jamie McGregor, thank you guys for boosting your contributions monthly. We really, really appreciate everyone's contributions to the show. We love our Patreon family, and we really hope you guys are enjoying your benefits that you get for supporting us. So thanks to all of you.
You're here. We love watching our Tricorder tribe grow.
Yes.
It's been amazing seeing the response from our new tiers and all that fun stuff. So, Black Alert. If you have not watched this episode of Discovery, why are you here? There will be spoilers, and trust me, this week something very, very big happened.
Oh, yes.
It will be ruined for you if you continue listening. So stop, go watch it, come back, get out of here. If you haven't seen it, I've warned you. If we spoil it now, it's your fault. Our show is a general discussion about the episode, but we do have 3 segments. Drop the Record is our opening remarks. Play a New Track, where we explore what we learn that's new about Star Trek universe. And Spin It Again is our look back at standout moments, scenes, characters, just about anything you feel is worth a shout out. So I am super eager to jump into this discussion. I don't know if you guys remember Bill Hader's character on SNL, Stefan, who was like, he would be on, I think, Weekly Update, and I just, in the spirit of Stefan, it's like, you know, this week's episode had it all. It had, you know, great special effects. It had big character moments. I don't, maybe some people will get it. It's just every new episode of Discovery has been phenomenal, and I just get so excited about all the awesome things that we see. So Melody, I'm super excited to hear what you thought about this episode overall. Please tell us.
Oh, man. As you said, super action-packed, as always. Well, almost always. Wow. I think by the time we get to finding out about Arium, getting to know her, she's gone. That did upset me and several other people. But it was great. I mean, you know, we're always continuing to learn new things with these people. It's never ending.
I jumped in, like, started the episode thinking, oh, we're going to get to learn about Arium. This is so awesome. And then
I agree.
it was taken away from us. Jeff, what was your reaction?
Well, I thought it was a pretty good episode. Very action Trek. Very cinematic, and you know, we're finally getting somewhere with the Red Angel stuff, which I was kind of happy about. But spoiler alert, as Heather said, one of the things that really stood out to me overall was we've got this kind of Star Trek meets the Terminator / Skynet stuff going on now. That was like, whoa, okay, that was not the direction that I was expecting them to go with this. So I was happy about that, actually, that it was something different than what I had kind of conjured in my head. I mean, looking back on Trek history, we've seen a lot of computers that have been hell-bent on controlling or eliminating sentient life. So this storyline really fits well in the Star Trek universe, in my mind. And it also looks like they're setting up Section 31 to get put back in the shadows and not have such a prominent image in the Trek universe. I was a little bit concerned about the prominence of Section 31 and the level of control and influence that Section 31 had. And they didn't appear again for a long time in the Trek universe. So something had to happen. So I guess kind of where they're going with it. And there's some interesting tidbits about Spock and why the Red Angel may have chosen him. So Discovery once again gives us those cookie crumbs to they help us conjure our own conspiracy theories, if you will. A couple of really good Spock interactions with several people on the Discovery crew. I think all of those scenes were really poignant and meaningful. So I was really happy to see those. And I'm happy to say Ethan Peck is really delivering. I was skeptical, as everyone who listens to Disco Trek knows, about a new person playing Spock, but I think he's doing a really great job. More great Pike moments. The return of Cornwell was great. And well, obviously I have some thoughts to share about Irium, but we're going to get into that here as I'm breaking Heather's rule about deferring to later.
Yeah,
I know we're going to get into it.
Because I'm going to force you to do it now. I mean, the reality here is that losing Irium was probably the most impacting part of this episode. Certainly what everyone's talking about this week. And like I said, I was really excited to be like, oh my gosh, we're going to get to know this character who she's been there since the beginning, like since we met Discovery. She's been there the whole time, right? And she didn't really, like last season, we didn't really get much of anyone on the bridge.
Nope.
I think we did get a little bit of the beginning, maybe, of Owosekun and Detmer's friendship. But Irium may have had like a word or two last season.
Yeah, very few.
So obviously, like the bridge crew has been more visible, and they've had lines, and they've gone on away missions, as we saw in this episode. And I feel like in the last few episodes, we've had, indication that something is going on with Irium, but we really, until this episode, hadn't seen the human side of Irium. And I think,
or even know that she was human.
I think, I think a lot of people didn't understand. And it's like, again, like, this is my job to watch this. Well, I mean, I don't watch Discovery because it's my job. I watch it because I love it. But doing the podcast is like a job. So I find it important to me to know all the characters' names and stuff like that. However, a lot of people who aren't taking notes every week and committed in that way don't know and wouldn't have known that she was an augmented human. I know first season there was some speculation on social media, and because at first I think she was kind of presented as an augmented alien via IMDb or something, and then it changed to augmented human. We got confirmation, I think, from Neville Page. But again, we really didn't see that in her character. Like, she always sounded robotic. She moved in a robotic way. So here's the first time we get to see her as a human being and learn this, heartbreaking, wherever they were, that they went and got, married her husband, and then they're coming home on the shuttle goes down, and so we obviously assume that her husband died.
Yeah.
And then how we get from Irium as a human to Irium as an augmented human, we don't know yet. And I'm leaving it at yet just because the very fact that she downloaded all of her memories and everything else onto Discovery leaves an opening for...
Sure does,
whether she comes back or not. She's not going to come back in that same body, because that body's out in space and gone. If she comes back as a type of AI, or as some people have suggested, their possible tie-in with the short trek Calypso, which had an advanced AI, Zora. So I don't know, and I'm not going to dive into that. I totally wanted to know how she went from, I'm a human, I've lost my husband. I assume, like, maybe she just decided, all right, I'm going to, give my body to this and become an augmented human and go aboard a ship and whatever it is. Like, I would love to know that. And I hope that we will get that.
No. Yeah, you know what? I'll just jump into it since you jumped into it. I'm going to throw this out there. The reason why I am so disappointed in the way that this short Irium arc ended is, as we've said already, this was the on-screen reveal that she was the first cybernetic human. And thinking of that and extrapolating from that, my mind says she could have been the Data of this series. She had such potential and such development that they could have done with that character. And granted, Culber died, and now he's back. Maybe Irium will come back at some point. But I just felt so let down by the fact that I just get to know her at the beginning of this episode and get that big reveal, only for her to die at the end of the episode and have her potential growth and just kind of thrown away. That was once that reveal happened, I'm like, wow, my mind was kind of going like, wow, this is going to be the commander Data of Discovery from now on. Obviously she's infected with something, and they're going to have to figure out how to get it out of her and cure her. And then she's going to continue to grow as we've been introduced to other bridge crew members this season. And, we're getting back to more of a regular kind of Trek vibe where it's a crew ensemble. And I thought that she was such an interesting addition to that crew and the potential of Discovery. Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel robbed. And
yeah.
I think, so I have to clarify here. We all have opinions, and all of our opinions are valid. No one's opinion about this is right or wrong. Right. And it's been very difficult to witness some conversations online where it's like, well, it did or didn't work for me, and if you disagree, you're wrong. And it's not that people are like actually saying those words, but a lot of times it is implied in the words chosen. And it's because every opinion is valid. And I think that what's happening also is that you're getting a somewhat emotional reaction on both sides, where there is this sense of frustration and just like that feeling of being robbed and not getting to know the character at all, and she's gone. And then on the other side, and here's the thing, you can still feel that way, but also feel that this was done in a really, beautiful, honorable way for the character. I've seen that opinion. And then I've seen, I got what I needed, because like for me, I've struggled because I watched the episode, and I don't know that this is now my favorite episode, but I loved like every minute. I felt that the pacing between the action and the story, I felt it kept me interested and on the edge of my seat the whole time. And
I think that the fact that the whole Irium issue became an issue to some people was possibly a good thing. That sparked interest and whatnot. A lot of the characters had to deal with her death. You found out more. This was the in top of my old mind, this was the one time that Michael could not fix or save somebody. And her at that door, and they kept telling her, well, Spock said, no, Michael, just, send her out. You can't fix this, you know, and she just was all gung-ho because she's used to just jumping in there and fixing people. So you saw, because of this incident, you saw, and you learned that life is life. You can't, and the reactions are just, they're good. That means you got everybody's reaction and they were paying attention, whether it be whatever they think, so it was good.
For me, good. Like the reason that this episode was enough for me, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't have liked to have seen a bit more about Irium before, like that. I think we all want that. We want to know more about these characters, right? But I'm not disappointed at all, because with what was in the episode, I connected with her as a human because of what we saw of her, asking it. She knew something was going on. Like, something is not right. And she asked Tilly to stay with her. Seeing the snippets of friendship and stuff again, which would have been great to have seen before, but seeing him, the way that it was woven into this episode, and this, I will say, tapestry of Ariam's life, this glimpse into her life, for me, I think I either said in my head or put on Twitter, it's like having an acquaintance that I know of, but I don't know personally.
Yeah.
And seeing these little snippets, but then seeing how meaningful this person was to others was powerful for me. And like, when I finished the episode and was listening or reading through some of the feedback and these reactions, I started to take the criticism a little personally, and I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I don't need to get angry that people disagree with me. Like, there is something going on with me that I'm having this reaction. And I realized I realized just today when I was rewatching, it was because I just went to my grandfather's funeral, and I had so many people came up to the family, to say their goodbyes and everything, or to honor him. It's, it was an open casket funeral, so they came up to see the body. Anyway, all of these people told me how kind my grandfather was and how sweet my grandfather was. And so I connected, because this episode to me was like these characters saying this person, Ariam, was so special. And I love the fact that they showed every single person's face and their reactions. And for me, for me as a woman, it was also extremely powerful, because that kind of camaraderie between women, again, isn't something that we've necessarily seen on previous iterations of Star Trek. So that's meaningful to me as a woman, to see, look at this super positive group of women who obviously love and care for each other, and say those things in this episode. And for all those reasons, and then my own personal connection and what I just went through, is why, like, I am satisfied with what happened. And I thought that it honored her character. And for me, it actually gave her a ton of meaning. And that's amazing to me, that you can bring in this one character, as Star Trek does, brings in one character and does something with them that provokes so much emotion and a connection. But that didn't happen for everybody, and that is okay. Like, that's good. Yep. It's like we
have
all
closure,
Yeah, we all have different experiences, and everyone's reaction is valid. And so for a lot of people, they didn't have that connection. They couldn't make that connection. And that might be the case somewhat with the two of you.
Well, it wasn't necessarily that I couldn't make a connection. And, it's not often on our shows that we reference other shows, but this brings to mind the reason why I gave up on The Walking Dead. There was a character, I don't even know, a couple seasons ago that they had brought in by the name of Noah. And, one of the old characters who'd been on the show for many seasons, sacrificed herself to give Noah a chance to live. And the show built up Noah as this potential, amazing character who could contribute so much to the show. And then they wound up just killing him off. For almost no reason whatsoever. And I'm like, you know what? That to me is just a complete waste of a great character. And not to say that Ariam's death was a waste of a great character, but I'm just looking at the potential that could have been. And that's my disappointment. Not that, we only got to know her for a short time and she's gone, but my disappointment is really about where she could have gone after this exposure to her, and letting us get to know her and seeing all the things that she was capable of, and how she survived such a horrific event and went through this. We can't even imagine what the surgery and augmentation process must have been like, and giving up, part of her humanity to become this cybernetic being. And she was totally
Mhm.
okay with it. I mean, you could see that she had no,
Mhm.
well, from what we saw, she had no,
Yeah.
negative emotions about having become this being. And she was
Mhm.
happy to be on the ship and doing her job and doing being a great assistance to the crew. And to think
Mhm.
what she could have done had she continued, I just didn't see
Mhm.
much value in sacrificing her. I wish they would have found a way to
Mhm.
save her, instead of
Yeah.
pulling the airlock and doing a Game of Thrones with the character.
Right.
That's what I'm
Well,
saying. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to
as
be
you know,
negative. I'm just saying I saw
yeah,
potential in that character.
yeah.
I wanted to see her
No,
progress and
that.
grow more. And I wish I could have seen them play the game together that we only saw little snippets of.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
That would have been
Well,
a
it
great
Star
scene.
Trek always, they've always got, especially lately, with season 2, has always got little reasons, it seems like, why they do things,
Mhm.
and then we don't know right away until
True.
a couple episodes down. And I think Heather hit that, to where, oh, maybe, they'll use, what she had in memory for
Mhm.
something else. I wouldn't put it past Trek to do something like that, because I agree, she could have been so much. And Trek this year is it's just working that way with all these surprises and twists and turns. They could have something planned down there that we just kind of don't know yet, and it's
Yeah.
interesting to wait and find out, that's for sure.
And it's something that, again, our friend John Krikorian over at Trek Profiles has said, and it's difficult to talk about these episodes as standalones because we don't know what's going to be coming. And a lot of people have criticized the
Mm-hmm.
fact that the episode opened on this very personal moment with Ariam and her husband and foreshadowed the death. And maybe if I'd been in a different
Mm-hmm.
state of mind, I would have picked up on it. I
Yeah.
didn't. That, like,
Mm-hmm.
this to me, I was also just kind of blown away that this was not spoiled in any way. Like, I,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of us saw it coming. And that, to me, in this world of social media and speculation, like, we're distracted trying to figure out this Red Angel stuff, and then there goes Ariam. But because they
Yeah.
paid such special attention to stating that she downloaded these memories, a lot like the end of Nemesis, and
Mm-hmm.
Data, I feel like the story is not over. And
Yeah.
so for that
Yeah.
reason, I'm okay with it. Uh, and I really do hope that in whatever way she comes back, just like L'Rell. Like, where's L'Rell? Like,
Who knows?
either.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, everyone's opinion about this death is valid, y'all. And
Mm-hmm.
sure, if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't. But, like, opinions are opinions, and, like, we love each
Yeah.
other. We don't need to go to war trying to prove whose opinion is right or wrong.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the society we live in right now.
It is. I love that
Right.
Ariam is so controversial. Like you said, Melody, it's been
Mm-hmm.
great to stir up that conversation. I feel like almost every
Mm-hmm.
episode of Discovery this season has had something that's
Definitely.
a big deal to talk about. But let's move
Mm-hmm.
away from Ariam. Let's move into Spin a New Track and talk about new stuff out of this episode. Jeff, I'll start with you this time.
Ooh.
Do you got some new stuff?
Yeah, I got quite a few things. So, a couple quick notes. So, I thought that the holographic technology that was used in this episode, it was very interesting and was way advanced for
Mhm.
the time period, and it was a kind of a throwback to something that Pike said on a previous episode about not using this stuff on the Enterprise, and I thought that was a nice way to kind of tie this into what TOS was and explain away why the Enterprise didn't have this stuff that they probably should have had watching Discovery. So if you watch the stuff in chronological order and you watch Discovery before you watch TOS, you wonder what the heck happened to all this stuff. But I like the fact that they're weaving that into the Discovery storyline and giving us reasons why some of the stuff doesn't exist in the existing Trek. I'm sorry if that doesn't make sense.
Right.
That
But
makes sense.
I understand.
it's something that I felt
Yeah.
like they had to figure out a way to do, and I'm glad they're figuring out.
Mhm.
It's almost like a Battlestar Galactica way of doing it, where if you've watched that show, the reboot, they cut the ship off from that technology, and it insulated that ship from whatever else was going on in the hacking that was done by the Cylon. So it's a really good way to explain away some of the things that we're missing from TOS. So
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gentleman, it's somebody that gentleman friend that's a Trekkie also is trying to figure out the technology and Discovery as compared to TNG or, well, of course, TOS. Everything was almost before TOS except maybe Enterprise, but he's trying to get it chronologically in his mind. Well, why didn't they have that on Enterprise? So that kind of explains, what I'm saying. I'm saying, for one, it's Star Trek. Open your mind, But they very, they very well could have been. They very well could have been doing stuff like this in Starfleet that nobody else knew about, such as like Section 31, but technology and whatnot. And still had some of the old ships floating around, and then you could have had Discovery with all this stuff that nobody kind of knew about. So that's how I put it in my mind anyway.
Yeah, as much as I have kind of struggled a bit with the presence of Section 31 in Discovery because it just seemed unnecessary to me. However, I think that at the end of the day, it's helping like with some of the issues. And I find that to be a very intelligent use of Section 31. So I'm really impressed overall that they brought in the presence of control, because that's not something that's been in the episodes, but in the novels, as Alex Perry mentioned, I think the last time that he was on the David Mack novel that Control was in. So it was really great to see that brought in, but then that also, and I haven't read the book, so I can't comment from that perspective, but seeing this development of the AI and the AI, hacking Arium and using Arium to get the information from the sphere to become conscious, and then tying that into this Red Angel stuff, I thought was really interesting. And just, I appreciate the presence of Section 31 more because of this knowledge now.
I agree. And I guess, here I go again, people who've listened to me ramble on Disco Trek before know how much I love social commentary in Trek. And I think that this storyline involving AI wanting to become sentient is relevant in our lives today. We have this, the growth of AI and, these big tech companies who are getting bigger and bigger and controlling more and more. And I think this is a great commentary on, where we are today in a futuristic sense. We could be where Discovery is in a couple of years with, all the companies controlling all this data, knowing where we are at every turn, and what are they going to do with that data? And of course, this is taking it to an extreme with a computer wanting to wipe out all sentient life, and I don't think that's where our current societal trends are going. But I like that they're working in a little bit of social commentary into Discovery, which is something that Trek is famous for doing, and something that makes us think. And that to me was great. And another thing that stood out to me about this episode, something that I learned, is there are now logic extremists who have infiltrated Starfleet. That to me is shocking. I'm not sure why it's tolerated, but it seems to be known that there are logic extremists in Starfleet, and they're allowing them to be in positions of authority, which is just amazing to me. I don't know what you guys thought about it.
Well, I think it's mimicking, I don't know, the way it could be or the way it is right now. I don't know. We've got, it just reminds me of today. We have spies in the government,
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, like,
so why not why not 7th Fleet or 31, But, it's just another depth I think, another layer, which is what Star Trek is all about. Make us think, possibilities. So
yeah, it's really pretty. It was kind of odd. I mean, honestly, I didn't pay as much attention to the part of the episode, but and now they're all dead anyway. But it is kind of an odd thing that not within. I mean, I guess that she was tied. What was her Admiral? What was her name? Pitar?
Cornwall. That one. Yeah.
The Vulcan extremist lady. That she was she involved with Section 31? Sorry, I'm getting all murky in my head right now. If she were somehow involved with Section 1, I could maybe I would understand it better as them trying to make a connection in or infiltrate an extremist group, but it is kind of unbelievable that Starfleet would have any type of extremists, especially after one attacked Sarek. Like, maybe I need to pay more attention and think about that a little bit more. Any other notes you had for this, Jeff?
One more thing before we throw the mic to someone else, and this was probably the moment in this episode that made me smile the most. I was kind of giddy actually when this happened. Spock makes reference to the fact that he is not the only half-human Vulcan that exists, and to me that screams Sybok. And
what did he say? Because I missed it.
Well, there was a bit where in the exchange where Spock was talking about the reason why the logic extremists were targeting his family. And there was just a little offhand comment where, he made reference to his half-human nature, and he said, there are others like me.
Okay, I've totally missed that. I'll have to go back.
I was like, whoa, oh my God, finally someone acknowledges the fact that there are others. And, I've talked about this so many times on other shows that we've done that, Sybok appears out of the blue in Star Trek V. I just love the fact that Spock makes mention of the fact that there are others like him, and that kind of makes a connection for me that was really valuable since I had that connection with Spock, and I make no bones about the fact that I love Star Trek V, even though I take a lot of flack for that. But that was really cool little thing for them to throw in to that episode, even a tiny little 1 second throwaway line. I just love that they made mention of that.
So many possibilities off of that line,
right?
That makes you think,
right?
You always think, oh, he was the one and the only one. Well, no, he's not. Well, how many are there? Well, are they like him? Does the Red Angel is the Red Angel aware of the others? Right. And has the Red Angel tried to contact them? And it's just just that one line, like you said, just takes you off somewhere. Yep.
So many
definitely.
It's hilarious. It's not hilarious to me, but I can't believe I totally missed it. And I even watched it with closed captioning the second time. So go Heather.
during their argument, I think it was he and Burnham was arguing. I do believe.
Yeah. I think I was a bit. I was so immersed in what was happening between the two of them and their scenes. And
it was powerful.
And then trying to understand like where the conversations was going, because there is so much animosity between them, but there is also admiration and love. And that comes through, like, even with Spock, and Spock saying to her, like, stop blaming yourself. And he does wrap it up with, saying that she's shouldering the burden. What was it? You avoid reality because it is easier for you to shoulder burden than to face unimaginable grief. And so at the end of the day, he's still like, maybe he's not wrong, but it's just, there's so much strain there. And it's like, I see him, trying to reach her and say, look, it wasn't you. Like, stop blaming yourself for all of this. Like, there's more going on here. And to me, those are words that are saying, I care about you. Right. And then, but then it keeps coming around and turning into other things. So I was just so caught up, in those scenes and what was going on there. And especially, Michael getting so upset and yelling "shut up" at him, which is just totally what kids would do. And that's another thing. It's like they really are. It's kind of like that scene where we were learning about what happened between them, where it was going between the children and then the adults. And in so many ways, like, we are still seeing a lot of childish emotion happening here, to the point where they're both, exploding. He knocks, he knocks over the chess set.
Yeah. How cool. And what is with that?
That was,
yeah.
It's always funny because I keep trying to imagine a young Leonard Nimoy doing all this, which is not fair to Ethan Peck at all. But man, like, just such powerful moments between the two of them. And as you said, Jeff, maybe I should save it till the end, but Ethan Peck is not one of my shout outs for this, but he should be, because he's doing a really great job. And I do recommend that everyone listen to Anson Mount's podcast, The Well Pod, because he does an interview. There's 2 parts out right now. He interviews Ethan Peck about his experience auditioning for the role and preparing for the role, and some other, I haven't listened to the second half yet, but he talked about, doing the research and listening to Leonard Nimoy speaking and just getting down the rhythm of his voice, the cadence, the temper. Like, he does such a beautiful job, and I do think that he honors Leonard Nimoy and his performances here. So that's really great.
I agree with that. I agree.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see how great his delivery was and how seriously he took the character. And it was heartwarming for me as a lifelong Spock fan to see another actor, like Zach Quinto, who respected the role, respected the character, and threw themselves in it and really immersed themselves and tried to do the best performance they possibly could. So I got to give my hats off to Ethan Peck. And if you ever listen to this, I'm sorry that I doubted you.
We love you.
We do. We love them all. All right, Melody, what do you have for spinning it, or for, where are we?
Play a new track.
Yes. What do you have for play a new track?
I think the anger got me.
Oh no.
Yeah, the Spock anger. I don't know whether it's the angel thing, but in past TOSs and whatever, they always portrayed him as having no emotion, and that's almost the last thing that he doesn't have. I mean, this one, I think that's kind of taken me back a little bit.
Yeah, seeing so much emotion there.
So I agree with you in that respect, but the way that I've approached this version of Spock is kind of a melding between the Cage Spock and the TOS and beyond Spock that we knew. So I kind of resolved myself to understand that we could be seeing a very different Spock, and he's going to go through some things that are going to get him to be the Spock that we know. So I've been giving it the benefit of the doubt. I know that what we've seen in this episode, the anger and the fact that he is enjoying expressing his emotions. I think that's part of the Vulcan evolution and becoming fully immersed in logic. I think we haven't seen him get to that point yet. Not to contradict you, I think your points are completely valid, and I agree with them all. There's something's going to happen before the end of this season, I think, that's going to direct him to the path that we've known him to be on.
Yeah, well, the reality of right now is that, he thought he was insane. Like, he thought he was losing his mind. He knows he isn't now, but he felt he was in a compromised state, and he does not understand why this Red Angel is playing this role in his life, and that's an extremely difficult thing, like to not understand and not have that control. So there's one place where his emotions might be a bit unstable, and then add this reunification with Michael into the mix. and her own emotions. And I don't think I got to talk about everything that happened in Memory Served and the words that were shared and those scars. And something that I hadn't seen brought up a lot was the issue of abandonment, not just of what she said to him, but the way that she has left. Like, she ran away, and obviously we assume that she went back. Like, I'm not sure at what point she left Sarek's household. Obviously she's had a relationship with her parents for a long time, but even just that abandonment, and obviously she did abandon Spock. And that, I know from personal experience, whether you know the person or not, that's a difficult thing. My dad left before I was born, and and that has affected me. I'll be 38 this year, and I can still recognize where I have issues with that, where I'm afraid to make some connections. I'm afraid someone's going to leave, and I've experienced abandonment throughout my entire life. So there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in that, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that this version of Spock is definitely just experiencing a lot of emotion all at once, and a lot of that is frustration and hurt, which turn into anger. And it is really difficult to see Spock this way.
It is. And let's not forget that Spock said a couple of lines about how he disappointed Sarek disappointed him. So he's obviously has those, we know that he has issues with his father. And you know, that coupled with his issues with Michael, he's got a ton of family issues that he's trying to deal with, and has to take a toll on him. And I think we see a lot of that come together in the episode.
I found, here's the thing, if Memory Serves it was a traumatic episode. A lot of trauma happened in that episode. And then now we have another super traumatic thing happen. Obviously not everybody reacted to it the same way, or felt the trauma of losing Arian, but we're still seeing this stuff is hard to watch. Like, it's hard for us too. And so, I totally understand being affected and having a strong or even a negative reaction to seeing some of these emotions play out, especially when they're not something that we're used to.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me think. What did I learn in this episode? So one of the things that I really enjoyed, so aside from this reference to David Mack's books and Control and everything, there was a reference to Una McCormack's Tilly novel, The Way to the Stars, in here, where it was at the very beginning when Cornwell comes onto the bridge, and Tilly's saying, like, I've never been not a refugee. I've never been a, I got it, fugitive. Why was I thinking an R word? All right. So she's like, I've never been a fugitive before. And
there you go.
Talks about, when she was young and 16, and that's something that came directly out of that book. So I thought it was really cool, because even though the Discovery books, like all these books aren't official canon, and at the end of the day, like, who cares about canon anyway, but it is just really nice to see those books honored and mentioned and brought into the universe, because a lot of people don't read them. And it's a fun Easter egg for the people that do, but it's also just a really cool thing for the writers as well, to have their work recognized in that way. So I thought that was super fun. Let's see. We got the confirmation that Non is a Barzan, which, like, we all knew it. We all speculated, but there was no direct confirmation for that until this episode, which I thought was great. And again, like learning about Ariam's relationship with Tilly, Detmer, Oas Shekun, and Michael and Reese. I think it was Reese that she was boxing that I sort of felt like maybe she even had a little crush on. I don't know. She saved that memory. So I'm just describing my own, like I thought it was a cute moment and I thought, oh, that's so cute. And then had romantic thoughts and that it may not be the case at all. But it was nice to learn those things and learn about those relationships. And then again, to see those relationships on display because, they're just not things that we get to see a lot. It reminded me of Lower Decks and everybody hanging out together.
Right.
So yeah, that was really
there again. I think Jeff and I were talking earlier, and season 2 of Discovery is more Trekish. They're bringing in the family. You're getting to know the bridge people and some of their interactions, and you're picking them up more as family. Whereas I think season 1, you didn't have a chance. There was just, I don't know, it seemed like there was so much going on between the mirrored universe and everything else. And this was that, and somebody killed them. And, and it's like, wait, who is this? So season 2 has really, really brought us back to the characters more, I think. So, yeah.
I really appreciate getting to see them, and it was powerful for me to see their reactions. And I'll move myself into spinning again because I do obviously this episode for me belongs to Hannah Cheesman, who plays Ariam. I thought she just did a really beautiful job. And then to the rest of the women who played a part, again, sorry, feminist Heather here. It's just really important for me to see moments like that and to see that genuine love and to hear women talk about each other from a place of adoration and respect. It was just very, very meaningful and a powerful moment for women, I think. But, again, Ethan Peck, yes, but also Sonequa, our star, she obviously she brings so much to the show, and the show is very much hers in many ways. But every time we see these big moments, there's been some criticism, being that Michael is so centric to this story, and frankly I feel like everyone is included. I don't feel like it's just the Michael Burnham story to me.
True.
But with the moment where Non comes and hits the releases Ariam into space, and Michael's face, her face is just the disbelief of what she's watching, and that I can't. She just blows my mind. I cannot wait to see where Sonequa goes, because she just what she does with her face, and just
I know.
It does not sound eloquent at all, but that's because she just makes me speechless. And what I love. She was great in The Walking Dead. I've seen all of Walking Dead up to her death in that series, and I feel like I'm seeing so much more from her in Discovery than I got to see in The Walking Dead. And maybe that's just I don't have great memories. It's been a long time since I watched The Walking Dead, and this is fresh in my mind. But she just continues to amaze me, and like you had mentioned, Melody, the emotions, Michael loses, I was going to say the S word. She loses it. When this, and I get it. I've been there. I think a lot of us have been there, where something is happening that you have no control over. And I mean, she was the one that was going to have to do this, which thank goodness Non was there. Yeah. But just, it just pulled at my heartstrings so much to see her just panic and just try everything in desperation, knowing that it wasn't going to happen. So it's my also have to mention, this episode was was directed by Jonathan Frakes, right?
Oh yeah.
Phenomenal. I'm love seeing everything he does. He's been great. And then so Michelle Paradise is the writer showrunner for the Picard show. Or that's what she is. She's going to be the showrunner for season 3 of Discovery. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
So she will be the new showrunner for season 3 of Discovery, which I just think is super great. She's still working alongside Alex Kurtzman, but given that he's got his foot in everything, she'll be first,
wow,
at the forefront of everything. So just phenomenal job all around with this episode. And I final note, I adored that Tilly called Airiam a robot, which is just a thing from the 60s. We've heard it in Star Trek. We hear it in Twilight Zone. It's just the way that they said robot then. And I just thought it was just adorable that she called her a robot.
It's so Tilly. It's so Tilly.
Really.
You've got to, you either love Tilly or you hate her.
It really, really, really is. Okay, so Melody, did you have any shout outs that you wanted to give for Spinning Again?
Just to all my crew on the USS Little Fox out of Lerna, Illinois. This is your ensign in the science department. See you in a few weeks.
Jeff, did you have anything for Spinning Again for this episode?
Yeah, I'll throw out a couple of brief things. So I think this episode really illustrates the rift between Burnham and Spock, and the fact that it right now it seems irreparable. It's more than what she did as a child that we've seen in previous episodes. I think they're philosophically opposites, and Spock is not willing to alter his view of her to accept her. And, I think he feels that, from what he said in this episode, that Burnham is missing the big picture and focusing too much on herself. Mm-hmm. And the fact that, her leaving wouldn't have saved the family because, logic extremists were really targeting him and his half-human nature as the abomination. So it goes a lot deeper. I know that I expressed some disappointment in the original reasoning behind their rift as, Burnham, leaving. I think there was so much more to that we got from this episode, and it really sheds a light on why that rift is as deep as it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, that's where it's like, we talk about what we've seen in the episode and we judge it based on that alone. And then here we have an episode the next week that kind of expands on that. So that changes our perspective exactly. of what happened. I thought it was so, I don't know if ironic is the right word, but, there he is lecturing her about, thinking too much about herself or whatever, however you just said that, when he's doing the same thing though. Like he's focused on how he's important to this. And so again, that just, it felt like two kids arguing. And, at the end of the day, I like to think that we're all children. Like a lot of our emotional selves, especially, we all have a little kid in us. Like, if y'all haven't been to therapy yet, go get some therapy and you'll learn. No, so much of our but it's just so much of that plays in, and I hope that at some point there is reconciliation, just because I like happy endings. But at the same time, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I thought it was really interesting that Spock told Stamets that Stamets didn't have enough faith in himself.
Yeah. That conversation between Spock and Stamets was great.
It really was. Yeah. And then the mention of, even Culber creating distance because he isn't comfortable with himself. Like, not that it's not about you, dude. And this is just advice that maybe they all need to take. Like, it's not about you.
Everybody back up.
Yeah. Anything else, Jeff?
Yeah. One other thing before I close up. I thought Cornwell's acknowledgement of Pike and the crew of the Enterprise being so valuable was awesome. I it was one of those things where it was a kind of a head scratcher as to why Enterprise wasn't involved in the Klingon War, but I love the fact that they were the best of the best of Starfleet. They wanted to make sure that something of Starfleet survived if they lost the war. I thought that was a great moment. And I love that, she laid that on Pike and it completely caught him off guard. He was like, whoa, yeah. I did not expect you to say that. Okay, I'm calmed down now. Everything's good. That was so great. It's such a great moment. There were so many little moments like that through this entire episode, and I thought that was one of the really great ones, and sheds a lot of light on Pike and why the Enterprise was so special.
It stood out to me because just like the conversations between Spock and Burnham, I got a little confused with the messages, only because when she first is talking, she's like, sometimes in war the terrible choice is the only choice. And doesn't that sound like every Admiral we've ever seen on Star Trek? Like it's just like it almost felt like, okay, I'm justifying this for this reason. This is somebody who also was on the verge of genocide last season. So there's like shades, like she's not a Admiral. I think she's a really honorable Admiral for the most part, but there are certain things she's done that are a little questionable. So I like that she's not like one side of the spectrum or the other, because I also tend to feel that Pike is just too perfect. And in part of it, like he's totally this archetype for the perfect Starfleet captain. And this is why kind of like what's going on with him and Ash, which again, forgive me because I didn't get to talk about it last week, but there are just this going between, do I trust you or not? Some of his treatment, I know you have feelings about Ash Tyler, Jeff, so we won't like open up a huge discussion about all of it. But I think it's just been interesting to me, that relationship, because it also shows that Pike is not necessarily as perfect as I think he might be. But that was such a good scene, because she just like put him right in his place, and it was great, like it was such a high compliment. And he just was like, okay, like he didn't know what to say. And then she's like, can we move on now? Like, get off my back, or whatever her words were about that.
Oh, that was kind of cool. But yeah, we won't repeat what you said, but yeah.
Yeah. But it's, again, like bringing in the Section 31 and everything that's been happening, and sacrifices that have been made that may not be right in line with Starfleet, that Cornwell knew about and may have, like, who knows? There's more to that story as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any final thoughts, Melody?
Oh, I don't think so. Other than, I think overall, we've got to remember, I think we think of anybody's Starfleet as perfect, by the book and perfect. We've got to remember they're human, or they're android, whatever. But we have flaws, as we're seeing in some people. Well, just that little discussion you had there about, Cornwall and they're not perfect. Yep. I think it's reminding us all that this season we're showing personalities, we're showing characters, and we're showing humanness, if that is even a word. But No, I think that's how I feel about it.
It's an interesting point, being that we're not all human in the Star Trek universe, and yet we still have these discussions about humanity, because Star Trek, it's a metaphor at the end of the day for human life. Maybe we need to find a different word that's not so human-centric. I don't know. Jeff, any final thoughts from you?
Well, I'll just end by repeating some of the things I said at the beginning. I think this episode, from a character development standpoint, was exceptional. a lot of things happened in this episode, and we got to learn some things about some of the existing storylines and some of the existing characters that we didn't know before. And I like when they move the characters and the story arc forward. And, I'm looking forward to seeing how some of these new threads play out over the rest of the season. And I'll throw out another shout out to Ethan Peck. I'm overjoyed so far that we've got this version of Spock. And I'm very hopeful for the future, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he evolves the character and plays it moving forward.
Yeah, it's, I tend to want, I think in a perfect world, I would like to have seen Discovery be a series without these tie-ins.
I get that.
Whether it happened before or after, whatever, it's just a lot. And sometimes it feels overwhelming to me to be like, oh, we've got Spock, we've got Pike, we've got Section 31. What else from the Star Trek universe can we throw in? At the same time, every time, like when the Enterprise first appeared at the end of last season, when Vina came on screen in the last episode, if memory serves, like I still get giddy. And like I feel that for the most part they've done a really good job, and I think that through season 2 it's just starting to become more cohesive because the pieces are falling into place. It's like a really nice game of Tetris. But we're just waiting for those final pieces to drop or something. Probably not the best analogy there. But we're more than halfway through this season now, and I have struggled on and off. New Eden blew me away. It's still maybe my favorite. I don't know. I can't pick a favorite now, and I think that says a lot. There are some episodes that I think were beautifully done, but I didn't connect with on an emotional level. Similar to what happened with this episode, where people didn't connect with, what happened to Ariam. But these last few episodes, because I've made personal connections, and I did a tweet thing about if memory serves, because some of the stuff that happened there was really powerful for me, with Culber and Stamets. And so I found myself making this connection to Discovery again. And in this episode, like, I had such an emotional reaction that I just didn't understand, like, what is going on with me? Is this normal? And I was able to find that personal connection. And I love Star Trek the most when it resonates with my soul. Let's get deep about Star Trek. So I am so back in the game. I'm so excited about Discovery. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next week and to come back and gush all about it, because it'll be great. And I really, really hope that we get to see Ariam in some way in the future. Hopefully we can get together and talk about that again. So that will close our discussion of Project Daedalus, whatever. I think it's Daedalus. Anyway, in the meantime, Melody, can we find you on the social medias? You mentioned the Facebook group. Would you like to offer anywhere that people can connect with you personally? You don't have to, but if you're on Twitter or anything like that.
Oh, I don't do Twitter. I'm like I said, I'm 63 years young, so I don't do Twitter. But yeah, Facebook, I'm on Facebook. If they heard my name before, Melody Copsey, or, just get on USS Little Fox. We have a Facebook. We chit chat there.
Very, very nice. And it's Little Fox, FOX, right?
Correct. Just like the television station. Oh, I just gave him a plug. Oh.
Alrighty. And Jeff, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Warp Factor Jeff, and you can also find me in the unofficial Star Trek Las Vegas convention group on Facebook. I said that slowly for you, Heather.
Thank you so much. Aren't you glad you don't have to say the tricordertransmissions.com?
Well, you can find me there, but we don't travel
We don't. So you can find me. I'm at LLA Posper. I'm also at Oh My Starships, which I sometimes have been tweeting out spoilery stuff because I get so excited. I had planned to like do this big tweet about this episode, and then again I got caught up in trying to figure out why I was so emotional, so it didn't happen, but whatever. We are at disco_trek. Please follow us there. Join the unofficial Star Trek Las Vegas convention Facebook group, or go to our website, discotrek.thetricordertransmissions.com. Is that the right direct URL? Okay, perfect. Make sure to fill out the contact form. That's what we're doing moving forward. It's not going to be just leaving a comment in the group. There will be a post in the unofficial STLV group, but you need to fill out the contact form to be on the show, or to get a chance at being on the show.
Yes.
So we hope to see some of you next week to talk about this episode. And in the meantime, I don't have a fun catchphrase to say, so just live long and prosper.
Bye, everybody.
There you go.